I would say I felt confused.
Okay. Time I felt my lowest.
I felt a series of emotions.
See, mixed emotions. Sad,
I felt hurt.
There was anger,
disappointed,
there was resentment, there was rage.
a little bit happy because I won't lie, the environment was intensive.
But most importantly was I didn't know your heart could have pain. And literally the thing about heartache, I literally felt that.
When was the time you felt at your lowest?
Okay. Time I felt my lowest.
The year was 2020. I received a call that I lost one of my closest friends. This was through suicide.
Well, there's a time I actually felt at my lowest, and it was a time when I had just lost my friend. Unfortunately, he committed suicide. And then a few months later, I found out that someone I was madly in love with had broken my heart.
I felt at my lowest last year in April. I was out for lunch and then I got a call from my sister that something was wrong and I had to just scramble my way back home. Just praying that it wasn't what I thought.
It was a point when I had to leave my corporate job, which meant I also lost my visa. And all this was as a result of issues I faced in the corporate workspace.
And, I got back home and, the shocking news was there that I lost my mom that day. This was recent, last year, 2023. There's a period in my life where I was very emotionally unstable. This was from a period of me waiting for something to happen in a period of 3 years. So we were investing my time, my money, prayers, and then 3 years into it, it fell out. And it was something I was very passionate about, something that was very life transforming. And that shook me to my core, questioned my belief in my faith as well.
I can't really pinpoint when or what happened.
This came at a time when this was during COVID. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world. I was also still in uni, still trying to figure out a lot of things in my life. I was actually with my parents when I got that call.
The year was 2022. The month was December. It was me and my buddy. We were driving down the road, the I-95. We're in Miami. Just as we're about to get to school, coming to a traffic light, we get T-boned by another car, and it hit me, hit my side. I was a passenger, and quite frankly, I was not supposed to make it out alive, but I did.
I think I just tend to have this mindset of, things happen for me, not to me. So I just try flip it.
And that led me to being a heartbreaker. So there's a situation that I was in that was a huge turning point for me because contrary to what people think, you usually are the one who experiences heartbreak when it happens to you. But heartbreak happened to me when I was the one doing the heartbreaking. So it was an eye-opener, to say the least, in that situation.
And just to see the heartbreak that it brought to not only myself, also to my mom. I just couldn't understand it. Yeah, that was a very low point in my life. So
What exactly did you feel?
I would say I felt confused.
I felt a series of emotions.
Say mixed emotions, sad,
I felt hurt.
There was anger,
disappointed,
there was resentment, there was rage.
a little bit happy because I won't lie, the environment was intensive.
But most importantly was I didn't know your heart could have pain. And literally the thing about heartache, I literally felt that.
And I was broken.
But yeah, it was mixed emotions.
I immediately felt like the world just became a very dark place.
I felt confused. Confusion mixed with grateful. I was confused and grateful at the same time, rather.
You know, if anyone has experienced heartbreak, they understand loss of appetite.
I felt like my life force that connected me to this earth was immediately just cut off.
I think one key thing that I learned was that I think I was not intentional with the relationships I had with a lot of my friends.
You know, loss of sensitivity in your feet, your arms. You don't even know what to think. You shake a bit. Your body just goes into a completely different state of being, and it's not a nice feeling.
More so confused just because I didn't understand how it's possible that my life could be taken away at the hand of someone else. There was no alcohol involved. There was nothing of that nature. But, I just like that in a flash of a second, it could have all gone away.
Also, as a man, I don't think I really communicated my feelings to not only my friends, to even my family, just peers, colleagues, everyone. So it taught me a lot of just to be intentional with how you talk to people, everyone really.
Yeah, I really just went into shock. Because I had to be there for my sister. I had to be there for my brother. And just try console myself and really just ask God, how could this happen? I never got a chance to say goodbye or anything like that. And immediately everything just went, like pin drop silence. As though there's too many people around and trying to console me at the time. I just felt like, my entire life force was just cut off. And the first woman I've ever truly loved who brought me into this world was just gone.
I don't think there's a time I felt like at my lowest. I think they're just challenging times, really. So
How have you come to develop that type of mindset?
the house I grew up in, I like to say I'm quite fortunate with how I've grown up. This is the parents, like my parents, my sibling. They've tried build a healthy environment for me. So most times I used to panic a lot as a kid. Something happens, someone says something, and I used to panic. I used to freak out, and they just sat me down one day and were like, "You don't really have to panic. That's one route in how you can solve something. You can actually panic, freak out, break things, yell and shout. The other way is just to look at it in terms of how can I learn from this situation and how can I better myself." So I sort of cultivated that mindset of let me better myself, but not in an aspect of avoiding. You can mix the two, but not necessarily avoiding what you feel, but just trying to use whatever you feel and try fuel it in a positive way.
Looking back, what did you learn from that experience?
At the time when I was panicking, I think it's something I didn't get. So I'm quite competitive, and I didn't get something, and I freaked out. I was like, "No, I deserve it," and all that. And I remember my dad sitting me down, and he was like, "Maybe you just haven't gotten it right now. It's just a now type of thing." So whatever I was really looking forward to, I didn't get it, but I got it later.
I learned to live every day like it could be your last. I learned to enjoy every moment, big or small.
From that experience, I understood pain is one of the greatest tools and teachers for man. Because it's a tool, because you can either use it for inspiration and insight, or you can use it for hate, envy, and revenge.
You know, when you pour your heart, soul, and mind into something, you really, really want it to work, and sometimes it doesn't.
One, in the corporate space, not everyone is your friend. Be careful who you trust, because I had put trust in some people who I thought would help me, and turned out it was misplaced trust. You're there for yourself.
But looking at it, it was like, you don't have to get it now, but you'll still get it later. So that's how I felt, and that's how I moved.
And I learned to prioritize finding a purpose, because what that situation led me to is a journey of self-discovery. And it also brought me closer to God.
And for me, in that period of my life, I used it as a tool for insight and inspiration. And I ended up writing a book from that period. And I understood so much more about myself, who I thought in my mind versus who I currently am. It's two different things. And so I had to bridge the gap through a lot of self-awareness and meditation.
And at that point, I'd always like to tell people, ever since that experience, don't always depend on whether it's whatever you're doing, don't depend on that one thing. Try and diversify whatever you're doing. Whether it's in the job, have something you're doing on the side that could either be your safety net in case of any issues. And that's what I learned in hindsight. And now I'm in a better headspace looking back.
First was just gratitude. You know, I had first go through the motions of what that pain is like. But then as time went on, I was able to reflect on everything my mom would used to tell me. And I was able to lean on that, you know, wisdom and understanding. To basically say that, you know, I'm grateful that I was blessed by God to have her for 30 years of my life at the time. And in as much as I really wanted to question why such an event could happen to not only me and my family and, you know, friends around us, but you just have to accept and thank God for that blessing, that you were able to have someone guide you for 30 years. And because in my belief, God decided to call her back when he did, I basically learned that I should not question the will of God.
I think that experience has taught me so much, because if it wasn't for that experience, I don't think I'd be here speaking about this. I don't think they'd be just to kick it is a blessing.
In as much as I would give my own life for her to be here, I've just been going through that motion. That's one of the things. The other thing, obviously, is, you know, it's a shock and realization that the person that you'd call at any moment in the day for anything that's going on in your life, you know, good or bad, was suddenly not there. If I can give a brief example, because I play golf quite a lot, one of the habits I had was, you know, as you're walking between shots, I would just call my mom and just see how her day was going. And for some weird reason, a few months after, I picked up my phone and I'm looking at her number. And in my head, something was just not like clicking until it hit me that if I call this number, the person on the other side is not going to pick. Which for me was just confirmation that I'm not walking in a dream or a nightmare, that this is actually the reality.
Now, bringing back to that point, I sort of spiraled into a lot of thoughts and regret later on after the incident. And luckily, I have a lot of like supportive friends who really took me through that period of my life, and I'm very grateful for them as well.
And not only for me was that experience pivotal, it was also very pivotal for the girl that I went through with it. You know, out of that pain and rage or negative emotions she felt, she was able to start an amazing company out of that. And I think that's a lesson to all of us is we'll all go through tough times. We'll all go through pain and negative emotions. But there's a way you could fuel that to turn out into something so beautiful.
Have you ever had suicidal thoughts?
So many times, a lot of the times.
I have.
Yes.
Yes.
I have. Now, bringing back to that point, I sort of spiraled into a lot of thoughts and regret later on after the incident. And luckily, I have a lot of like supportive friends who really took me through that period of my life, and I'm very grateful for them as well. So
I've had the ones that, just jump off the roof right now. No one will think about it. And I've had the ones for how could you hide it so you don't have to take your friends and family through what you went through. Like crash the car or, do something that no one will ever think it was really suicide, but it was just a mistake.
I have, to the extent of why do people do it? What moves people to do it? And how can we mitigate stuff like that from happening?
Yes. However, I haven't gotten to the point of actually wanting to do it, like having a plan behind it, because I think the fear of God in me is just like life is too precious, because at the end of the day, what if I do such an act and miss out on so much that I could potentially have done in the world today as a man and leave a footprint into the society that will last for generations. So there's that aspect of fear, and I've also seen what it does to people based on people who I knew taking their lives. So it's a very traumatic experience that I would not want to do to anyone who truly loves me. So I didn't go to the verge of actually planning.
Yes, but it was more in terms of what was happening around me at the time. There were a lot of people I'd either interacted with or was in school with that were unfortunately part of such a scenario, and I thought, and that put me in that headspace, basically.
No, I wouldn't say I have. But as a scientist, you kind of toy with it sometimes, the question of existence and all of that. But at the same time, I wouldn't say I've actually contemplated suicide, even at the lowest moments of my life. Simply because I always try find a bigger reason than what I'm feeling at that time and try work through it.
However, I think in the book of Ecclesiastes, I think it talks about vanity. So I really think about that time to time where it's like, what's the use of all this that you're doing? But suicidal thoughts, no. But more of like, what's all this for?
Do you find it easy to express your emotions to those around you?
Now, the question is not complicated, but I just find it interesting, especially in our society today. We, having grown up in an African or Kenyan household, I can literally count the number of times between me and my dad that we've shared that I love you and those heart-to-heart kind of conversations. And even if it's not in the family scene, it's also what happens in schools or like your friends. It was always looked down upon if a man would share his thoughts. Or, well, I guess then you're considered a boy. So you'd hear things like, even if you get hurt, as an example, you're not supposed to shed a tear, you're not supposed to feel pain. So you kind of think that you should numb yourself. And for a long time, that had been the case until I thought, okay, keeping it inside is only just gonna, at one point burst open.
I wouldn't say it's easy, simply because of life experiences along the way. But what I've learned through that is you're able to curate the people around you. So you're able to know who to confide in and just make the most of that opportunity.
As I've grown older, I find it very, very easy right now to express how I'm feeling. I think I also have a good number of people who I can talk to on certain issues. And I think when I was younger, I would always, close myself off. But now I find it very, very easy.
Yeah, I think these days I do. Previously, no. I found it hard to express emotions because I felt like it was a sign of weakness. But these days I feel like it's actually a strength. And I've been fortunate enough to have very good friends who have been able to express how I've felt, and also my family. I'm able to talk to them about a lot of the things I go through.
Yes. I'm intentional in the people I keep around me, family, friends, and also relationships. I tend to have people who believe it's okay not to be okay, so they don't really put the weight of the world on you. And they're people who are also expressive, so it's easier also for me to express whenever maybe I'm not okay, just a call or a text. Sometimes you actually even have like code names, just text SOS, and we can just come and just chill. We don't really have even to talk about it, but just like we can just chill and maybe give each other the company. So yeah.
Now that I'm older, I do. For majority of my years, no, simply because I guess the environment that I was brought up in was not very emotional driven. It was more linear. But now I can say that yes, it is easier to express my emotions to those around me. But it has been a journey.
Everyone has said that as a man, it's very difficult to find expression in your emotions. And it's true because in society today, we have the perspective of bottling things in. Mental health in Africa specifically is just deemed upon as it's not an important topic. You never really hear your father say, I love you, or what is in his heart. Never. So for you as a student of your father, you tend to also do the same things. But lately, I thank God I've been able to forge and create relationships that I can articulate how I feel in a safe space. But there was an experience I had with my family before when I was sharing something that was very, very personal to me. And they reacted in a way that, I needed healing for about a year after, because I was sharing, we were at the dining table and I was sharing what was on my heart, and they reacted in a way and they said, you're so sensitive and shallow. And for me, that was like a cut to the heart, because I was like, I would never want someone that I love to experience the emotions I felt after. Rage. Like, how can I give my pearls to swine, as the Bible would say? And truthfully, now I know how to respond instead of reacting when someone is articulating their emotions to me. So it's a feeling I'm grateful for that I experienced, unfortunately, but I would never want to be someone who inflicts that type of trauma while someone is expressing their hearts, however big or small it is. It's our hearts are very fragile as men. We have a lot of sensitivity that is often overlooked, but many men are sensitive, and it's very difficult to hide it. What do you do to stay mentally fit?
Number one is God. So I pray a lot, especially when I'm going through tough times. Number two is, again, talk. So I'll talk to a friend or family. Number three is journal. I journal a lot. I really write a lot. There's some days when I had bad days and I'd just write, and then I'd burn the piece of paper and I'd feel this sense of relief. Number four is also exercise. Some days I go to the golf club just to release. Yeah, I think those are the four things that really help me stay mentally fit.
I'd say for me, it's more about having discipline in different areas of my life. That could look in terms of, in one area, there is God, who I put first in everything I do. Then there's in terms of health, making sure I'm either exercising, trying to eat well, but not starving myself in point of avoiding certain foods. And just your usual movies, occasional. I've been in the process of starting companies to kind of keep myself busy, especially since different scenarios that have happened. And yeah, that's what I would say.
I pray, I journal, I exercise, and I keep good people around me, a close circle of people who are like-minded, and people who I can talk to about everything. And I also play golf.
I pray. God first in everything I do. Social, relationships, business, work, everything. Try to put God first. I tend to also take care of myself a lot. I'm really, really big on personal development. My mantra is like 1% better every day. So anything that I'm able to do that, to achieve that, to be better, I try to do that. A lot of journaling helps a lot, because sometimes maybe you can't speak something, so just write it down or just do a short voice note to yourself and express how you feel. And content creation is also part of it, where you do it on the side, just express creativity.
I would say I've found myself, always going back to music since young. I make music. I'm a DJ, so I think music is my therapy. And I recently, started therapy in the UK, which was a very not for me, but I took the challenge, and I'm now in a few sessions in, and I think that's really helped as well. Yeah.
Faith is a huge thing for me. Prayer and meditation. For me, I'm very intentional with my alone time. I think if I don't carve out time in my day to spend time with myself for at least an hour, I can't effectively function in the world. So that has a part to do with reading the Bible, journaling a lot, just finding ways to effectively articulate my thoughts, even though I may not have this strength sometimes, because I can be an introvert to really say to someone what I'm feeling about. And so there are those men who are like me, who don't really want to talk all the time. Journaling is a very huge way to find expression. And then obviously being creative in other aspects of my life, through football as well, and through certain projects that, give you the freedom of the flow state. And I think the flow state is one of the best things someone should pursue. Just being in a place where your mind is roaming and you're like a kid. You have your inner genius unlocked. And for me, that's what I really try to apply on a daily basis.
I pray a lot. I'll admit I pray more now after everything that's happened. Just praying for discernment to be able to know exactly what it is that's going on. I work out. I try to go to the gym 3 times a week. Based off the experiences I've had and the emotions I've come to terms with, the one emotion that really stood out was grief. I thought grief is just something that happens in a very short period of time. But I've just come to understand that grief is really unexpressed love, and it's something that won't go away. I wouldn't want it to go away. And with that awakening, experience that I've had, you come to learn that this is something that happens to everyone. So in that light, with the discussions I had with a few close friends and the mentors that I've said, we wanted to put together a platform where it makes it easy to access some of these facilities. The platform is called Cope, and what we wanted to entail is we need to be able to cope with everything that happens to us, good or bad. Life is always going to have its own challenges and adversities. And listening to all the men talking here today, we want people to be able to not hide themselves with some of the things that they faced, some of the disorder events that happen in life. It will never be the end. And with that, we want people to not shy away from some of these things, however difficult it may be.
Screaming kumbaya for the Lord we praise. Ooh la la, it's a brand new day. If a hater come, we are let him stay. If a demon come for the boomer, yeah, singing no weapon forming against me shall prosper.